turn it over to our presenters. Go ahead, ladies.
Well, welcome, and I am going to share my screen so we can get this presentation going. Okay. Okay, so, and Deb, I'm getting a question about advanced sharing, and it's not letting me go on to anything else.
All right, let's see if I can change that.
We just want to say welcome, everybody.
I think I'll go ahead. Can I launch a poll right away?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Rachel, I'm not seeing any issues here. So.
Okay, I'll try again. Okay, I got it.
Okay, good.
Yep, the question is gone.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and launch a poll so that we can have some folks answering these questions as we are introducing and starting up the session.
Yes, we want to know who's here, and thank you for joining us. So just put your primary role. If you primarily do AT, despite your discipline, let us know that. So we're going to give that another moment. So this is DIY assistive technology for the new normal. And we are thankful for AbleNet letting us present on this topic. So I'm going to go ahead and we've gotten quite a few responses to the poll. So I'm going to go ahead and people are still answering. Lots of OTs. That's awesome, Barb. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Does that sound good?
Sure.
And kind of see where we kind of fell. We have lots of OTs, lots of AT specialists, and speech is also represented as well. Thank you, PTs, teachers, and other. If you're under the category of other, drop us a note in the chat. Let us know who you represent.
All right.
Okay, so I am from South Carolina. My name is Rachell Johnson. I'm a speech language pathologist by background. I'm an assistive technology team lead. I'm one of the 2 team leads for Florence One Schools in Florence, South Carolina. And I also work with the Minnesota Technology for Home program as a virtual assistive technology consultant, and just AT is my passion.
And I'm Barb Kelii, and I am coming to you from Minnesota. And Rachell and I started working together back in 2013, joint venture in assistive. Currently, I am with Monsview Public Schools. I work in a kindergarten center, so I work with the littles, kindergartners, and preschoolers. And I also do some independent contracting for assistive technology.
So these are our speaker disclosures. We are receiving compensation from AbleNet for this presentation, and everything that is seen in the presentation can be purchased at most stores, like through the dollar store or through Amazon, but we just want to make sure that everyone knows that we are not financially related or compensated by any of the products or items that we're going to show you today.
All right, our learning objectives for today, we are all about the DIY. So we really want you to take these resources and be able to identify and locate where you can find these DIY items. we want you to gain insight into the usefulness of DIY and how it can help you with whatever your practice is. And then some DIY tech examples to utilize in your day-to-day practice. So we're going to talk about education and assistive technology and even therapy settings. So our session outline, just to break it down for you, we're going to talk about why we have done DIY and hopefully why you should DIY. Then we're going to break it down into assistive technology assessments, how we've been doing them, give you some other ideas for computer access, remote access, working with multiple devices. Then we'll talk about DIY for distance learning and tele. We'll have a speech section. So Rachell is going to give you some information about more of the speech side, and then I'll talk more about written expression and literacy. Then we have a whole section about other DIY resources just to fill your toolbox. And so we have probably 60 slides that we're going to get through. We do want you to know that the handout that you have is this full presentation, and we put links all through the presentation. We might not click on them as we're going through, but you'll see that the links, they're all through the presentation, and hopefully whatever resource, if you're looking for it, it's going to be already embedded into the presentation. So fingers crossed.
So we're going to get started. DIY AT, why is it needed and what are the challenges? So during the pandemic, or after COVID-19 hit, we found ourselves in the new normal is what you could call it. And I don't know about you, Barb, but all of these things that we see swirling around in that light bulb are things that just became day-to-day conversation that perhaps we knew about these things, but they just weren't part of our day-to-day life, right?
Right. Some new words really popped up about a year ago.
So what did we learn from the pandemic? Barb, what did you learn?
Well, we've done some comparisons. My district here, we were not on a one-to-one basis for electronics. And so that was a big jump for us, how to get the technology into students' hands. And then also a lot of the teachers really were not familiar with how to work in a virtual setting. They were so used to one-to-one in person that jump tool was very tricky.
And our takeaway for Florence, one thing that we're involved in is the SITES framework. And so one of the things we learned was just how important it is for the school district's technology ecosystem. That's the IT department, the educational tech, and the assistive technology, for all of that to be working together in a more seamless manner. And so our district had, prior to COVID-19, had embarked on applying for participation as a SITES framework district. And so that work just became even more meaningful. And there are 7 districts participating. There might be more now, but at the start of it, we were one of 7 chosen across the nation to participate in this work of creating an inclusive technology ecosystem. You guys can follow our progress by going to sites.cas.org and find out more about how to do this in your district. So that's just one thing we learned and that we're continuing to work on. So why DIY? Well, there's funding, right? Assistive technology can be expensive. Ed tech can be expensive. So we found that during the pandemic, there were some ed tech companies that were offering free software at the start of the pandemic. But during this current school year, all those wonderful things cost money. So another reason is supply versus demand. The need for accessible materials is always greater, it seems like, than what resources your school has. And then there's also the new school models. So we're e-learning, we're doing hybrid learning, there's pop-up virtual schools or academies, whatever your platform is, might be a reason why you need some DIY solutions. And not just things that you can make, as Barb mentioned, we're also going to be talking about some technology resources too. It's not just going to be resources that of things that you have to make. Maybe there is a quick resource that you'll find very helpful in this presentation that's more catered towards something you can do with e-learning. So is DIY and the definition of assistive technology? Well, we've highlighted one line here of the IDEA definition of assistive technology, and it does state whether it's acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified, or customized. And that is exactly what we're doing with DIY things. Sometimes it is something you buy, but you have to modify it, or something is completely custom built or made. So definitely there's room for DIY in that definition.
Okay, time for another poll. Our second poll is, here it comes. In your role working with AT, have you created something DIY? So we'll see how our answers are going. And
yeah, and I bet you during the lockdown or shutdown, if you were doing virtual school or thrust into it, it probably felt like an emergency, right? And you were probably doing things yourself, DIY, that you never thought that you would be, So I think give yourself some more credit, some of the no's. You probably did a lot more than you thought.
And hopefully, if you are in that no category, we're going to give you some great ideas to be able to whip stuff out and say, I can DIY.
Yes.
All right, we're going to end the polling there. The results, 78 to 22. Okay.
All right.
Let's get going, Rachell.
Okay. So there are some barriers to doing DIY, especially in a medical setting or in a school setting. And what are they? So safety and efficacy. Has it been tested? Is it a safe thing to be providing? So an answer to overcome that is test it. Trial and error. If you're making something, ask yourself, would this hurt someone? And I'm just going to give an example of maybe you printed something off a 3D printer, are the edges where it's not going to cause any scratches or something like that. So just something as simple as testing it and asking yourself those questions.
Right. And I'm going to jump in too, because some districts, we have had some direction from our special ed director that, it's preferable if we have it in the budget that we do purchase something commercially, just because of the liability, especially as OTs, some of these things that we're making, if we're sewing, a lot of us have done a lot of sewing over the years, but, if you thought about if something came out of this, is it chokeable, and the liability of the school. So sometimes you have to go back and make sure that it is okay to create DIY things for wherever your workplace is.
Right. And there might be, a parent permission or something like that involved, but just do your due diligence. Making, who's going to make it can be a barrier. Here are some ways to overcome that. Now, all of these are links, and we don't have time to open these up and show you them today, but please go back and check them out. You can create a partnership. This one I will open because the rest of them list what they are, and this one does not. So let's see if we can get it to launch. Oh, go back. Well, and it's not going to let me. Well, we won't, I'll just keep going. That one will be a surprise. So AT Makers is one. Makers Making Change is another. And STEM and robotics clubs, maybe within your own school or district, is someone that you can approach to partner with. I believe one of these links takes you to some already made lesson plans and 3D printing recipes for a whole kit, if you will, assistive tech kit that a STEM club or classroom can use, and it's all there. So show that to your director of STEM and see if you can get a program like that going in your district. Our district is trying to make a program like this, and we're working hard on it and hope to launch it next year. Okay, so materials, you know, how much is it going to cost, the cost of the material. So a lot of times DIY is a fraction of what it costs to buy. And so hopefully we're going to be able to show you that today. Okay. Virtual AT services and AT assessments. So we're going to talk about computer access first. And so when you're doing a virtual assistive technology assessment, and sometimes you might not have that head tracker to send. So here are some good examples of something that you can use. So Camera Mouse is one of them. And again, these are, if you click on these, they're linkable. And what's nice about Camera Mouse is that, yes, you can assess their ability to use a head tracker with their own computer and webcam. But you could also, since that one has the ability to put the tracker wherever you want, nose, forehead, you can put it over their eye and have a quick little screen for what it would be like to use eye gaze. Of course, it's not going to be the same, you guys. Again, this is something that you can do to keep services going and to kind of see where you need to go further when you were working in a pinch like we were with the pandemic. However, I do know some people using Camera Mouse a lot for their day-to-day activities. Okay, so Barb's going to talk about nows.
And so again, I don't know if Rachell mentioned this, but these are free downloadable programs that anyone can download to their computer. Nouse is one that is based out of Canada, and Nouse rhymes with, but it's using your nose as the mouse. So I think they do have the ability to click on a different part of their face. So we're really looking at how much range of motion does someone have. And the nice thing about Nouse is that it does have a lot of clickable features that replicate a mouse. So you can do right click, left click, click and drag. There's a lot of different things built in there. So cognitive level, somebody really has to be able to understand all those functions. But if it's more of a physical difference that they just can't use their hand as well, it's a great thing to trial.
Yep. Camera Mouse completely free. Nouse cost, but you can probably do a free trial with them.
Right. It was like a donation kind of thing. We tried to get the information of what exactly the donation was, but we didn't hear back.
Okay. Remote access. So our district, we are using both Windows 10 Quick Assist, and it's super easy, free. You can use it to gain access to another Windows device. And since AAC devices, a lot of them are Windows based, you can actually get in there, do a demonstration, a device setup virtually, so many different ways, your own troubleshooting, or just even modeling for a parent. And it's also a way to see what they're inputting as well. And it works with an eye gaze user it doesn't disrupt the use of the eye gaze. So that's nice to know. Another way to remotely access is Chrome Remote Desktop, and we're definitely using this in our schools. And we are actually able to do, whether the student is virtual and they're at a home, or if they are receiving hybrid services and part of the week they're at home, or even if they're at a school and you're, in the life of an AT specialist, you're traveling, you can't quite get to that third or fourth school of the day, you can remote in and do everything you need to do. And so we use this to put on Chrome extensions. We even do training sessions with parents and students using Chrome Remote Desktop, where we might need to gain access to their Chromebooks.
Some other methods, TeamViewer is one that has been around for quite a long time. And if you haven't done any kind of remote access with something like this, just a quick explanation is the software is downloaded on each person's computer or device. And so if I was trying to access, the example is when we had our ALS clients, and they were having some trouble, we would start up TeamViewer, and on the other person's end, they would get a code saying that I'm requesting access. They would have to then give me the code, I could type it in, and then I would get access to their computer. So it's very secure, and it's reinforcing to the other people to know that I can't just hop in and control their computer whenever I wanted to, but you're kind of being like the IT person, like if you workplace and they can come in and access your computer, that's what you're doing, but it's more on the assistive tech, maybe communication device side of what you're trying to help them with.
Okay, and so we've listed some others that you can check out, and we've provided Zoom and Microsoft Teams recently introduced remote access to their platforms. So check out those articles that are linked to show you how to do that.
Right, and then just to remember, if you don't have these, whether you're not using Zoom or you don't have TeamViewer logged on, that even if you're using Google Hangouts or something like that, you can just ask the person to share their screen, and doing that, you can kind of coach them. Okay, go to the top. You can kind of guide them as to where to bring their mouse and then click through. And that might be able to help problem solve too, whatever's going on.
So working with multiple devices. So this, picture probably represents a setup that we're all used to seeing at this point with the kiddos that we're working with in their homes, or the clients. So use whatever you have. You can even buy off-the-shelf phone holders. The one that I have there is a little bit bouncy, but there's plenty of other kinds. The one that I have at my desk today has a gooseneck, and it's a little bit more sturdy. And I think I bought that one for $5 at a grocery store, the one that's pictured. So use what you have. If you have enough money to buy the cost alternative by the J-mount by Communicare, that's great. If you don't, but you need multiple views of the child and the parent needs their hands too, and so they can't stand there for your whole session and take that other angle that you need, use a phone holder. Or a selfie stick type of deal, sort of what I had today. It's kind of 2-in-1. So because you can see my light coming over. Use what you have. Super easy to do, you guys.
All right, so here again, when we first on to doing distance learning and we were all working from home originally, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a tripod. I don't have to be setting my camera on a laundry basket trying to, you know, show someone how to draw something or write a letter. So think about what you might already have at home. I took a tripod, I just got a new little mount plate for my cell phone, and I was able to use that to do those and to also have that alternate view when I'm working with students.
So we're going to talk about distance learning and some therapy, teletherapy resources. So first, digital resources. And we'll talk about Jamboard. So it's a free app. It's in the Google Workspace for Education, formerly known as the Google G Suite. You can use it on a computer, a tablet, iOS. You can be on your computer. The child or student or the person you're working with can be on a tablet or iPad. So what you just have to remember is that the controls look a little bit different, maybe from depending on what platform they're on. So it would be good for you to try it out so you would know, like this is a screenshot of a Windows screen, and the controls and the things that you use to annotate the screen with are on the left-hand side. And I'm not sure if I'll put on my, so they're all here on the left-hand side. But if the child was using an iPad, they might be at the bottom or across, you know, in a different
or they're a lot closer, like it fills up the whole screen. So how there's a lot of white space in between the toolbar and the actual, that dark part of the visual schedule, that board there. And Jamboard, I love Jamboard. If the OTs have not tried Jamboard, it's a really great way of one-on-one seeing how someone is doing writing, click and drag, lots of different things. It's better with a touchscreen device or a touchscreen Chromebook than it is for a younger student who does not have as good mouse control. And I would suggest, if this is something new to you, that you try to go in and watch some videos of other people, maybe other OTs who have created some Jamboards. I've learned over the school year some do's and some don'ts. Like if a kid clicks on the wrong place, they could move the whole picture, that you can lose the whole screen. So there has been some trial and error, but it's still one of my most favorite things that we've come across for distance learning.
Yeah, so just some quick tips. When you create them, create a master copy. That way you're not having to worry about a student doing permanent damage to your Jamboards, and just play around with it. What's really a nice feature is this is Barb's little symbol here at the top. So if she's the student, I know that she's connected because I see her there. And then if she's moving and following my directions on the screen, I can see her little symbol moving across. So it's a really neat interactive whiteboard that works in real time. And then the other thing that is neat about it is that they have, if you're using Google Meet, it is now right there. When you open up your Meet session with your student or person you're working with, it's at the top of your menu options there. So you can launch it now right from your Google Meet without having to work with multiple screens or tabs.
Or figuring out how you're going to get the link to the family or put it into Seesaw or something like that. So it's great that Google just built it right in. Yeah. So here's a demonstration or an idea of what you say you're a physical therapist and you're trying to do some distance learning tools. You can take a picture basically of any worksheet. These might be screen grabs, and you can put them right into Jamboard. You can import them and set them as the background. They won't move around. So here's the instruction page, the kids activity pyramid. And then on the next one, where they can either color in a pie or make an X for each 15 minutes of activity, then that can also be set as the background, and the student can then cross it off or color it in, and you as the PT can go in and check, see how much have they done, and then you can give the family some feedback on, okay, seems like, you know, they're not doing much. Do you need any other ideas and stuff like that?
Okay, another fun thing is green screen therapy. If you haven't played around with a green screen, here are some resources that can help you. So there's a link here for PlaySpark and their videos. If you want to buy their kit, if you want to DIY, you can use green felt or green paper or just even a curtain. Just whatever you do, make sure that your manipulatives are made with the exact green color match. You can use free backgrounds from PlaySpark. So let's say you have created your own green screen and you just want the free backgrounds. So you can go to that link to the PlaySpark website and get the free backgrounds. And she releases new ones every so often. So keep checking that out.
And you bought the actual green screen, right? It's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive. So I bought it, and then now I can DIY things that I create with felt because I bought the kit. So plenty of ways to DIY with green screens. Free Google tools. So Bitmoji classrooms. And again, we're not going to look at all of these links, just we will look at a few of them. So Bitmoji classrooms are a fun way to make things interactive. So check out that link if you haven't done that before. What I like about Google Chrome, about Google Slides, is that you can make so many things. So one thing that you can do with Google Slides yourself is your AAC video modeling or even modeling with GIFs. Now the link that I have in there for you, it is just a copy. You will make a copy just like it is showing you here. And it is not something that is completely done. It's just meant for you to try this out and play around with it. Okay. So it just allows you to make your own clickable modeling tool that you use during therapy. So this could be the screen that you are sharing with your student. You can highlight the word of the week that you are doing. You can do this by creating a shape and making it transparent. And so you could just go in and play around with this copy. And what I have done is I have linked some of the bigger things are linked to some quick videos. So like this more might be linked to a little video of YouTube, either a song or a family demonstrating or other kids demonstrating the word. You can even link it to GIFs. So whatever it is that's going to give you that instant quick reaction as you are modeling these core words and practicing them in your therapy. So again, that link is just for you to play around with making things transparent and linking if you haven't done so already. It's just a draft, so to speak, for you to play around with. Okay. Another thing that you can do with Google Slides is making CVI resources. So here is a link to some that are ready made, but it's super easy to create your own. And as that's coming up, all you need is a black background and search for transparent, whatever it is that you're searching. So I have a transparent apple, and here's a banana and an orange. So super easy to make your own CVI adapted books or stories or vocabulary flashcards. Super, super easy for those who need that high contrast due to a vision impairment. Okay.
4:36, so let's keep rolling.
So drag and drop activities. Remember that Google Docs, there's voice typing and there's explore tools. those are two things that you can try with someone for free before you delve into purchasing maybe one of those Chrome extensions that offers a ton of those tools. Here are two things that you can work with a student on to do for free. And then there's additional Google resources. So please check this out. And you guys hang on with us because we have a treat at the end of this presentation that we're going to share with you. That's going to talk about more resources.
And that on that previous slide at the very bottom is Control Alt, and Rachell always says Control Alt Delete, and that's not the guy's website. It's Control Alt.
It's Eric Kurtz, Control Alt Achieve. Yes. So please check out his website. There are lots of resources and tools for you.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I missed you.
All right. Communication and participation. So we're going to keep zipping through these. How many of us love a Big Mac? We all do. How many of us use them? We all probably do, or have some classrooms that we're going into and the teacher has all of her nice Big Macs set and ready for all the story time and other activities that we're encouraging participation for. But in an emergency situation, school shut down, maybe you don't have the time or the finances to provide every single student with their own Big Mac. So the teacher can model with their Big Mac, and what our district decided to do was make little kits. And so we bought these 30-second recordable buttons. We put Velcro on them. We gave out the A to Z Keep Talking poster from Call Scotland, which is linked for you as a parent resource. And we're able to keep that participation going. Of course, it can't do everything that a Big Mac can do, but it did offer 30 seconds of recording time, enough for me to say, even we recorded the instructions of how to record when we sent them out, because oftentimes when you're ordering things like this off of Amazon, it's hit or miss if it has good instructions. So one hint for that is to record the instructions on it before you send it out. So when our parents received those, they had just a message from us saying, push down or hold down until you hear the beep, then record. So it was just something that was easy resource that we could get in the hands of our parents to participate in virtual school a lot easier and quicker than we could otherwise. Oh, and I think I hit a link, didn't mean to do that. And here we go. Communication at home. Remember, DIY, use your fridge as a communication board. A lot of parents have pictures on the fridge or magnets on the fridge. Well, use those. Either have a communication board or maybe use product wrappers to represent real objects. Here's a link to some real life looking, I guess they're photos, so they're real photos of food items that are free online. So print those out. Anything can be a communication board, even a cookie sheet with magnets. Consider the size. These things are really large, but consider the size when you're doing that. Homemade boards. You can make behavior token boards or visual schedules or communication boards out of dollar store cutting boards. What's nice about these is they have a handle. So it's easy for parents or teachers to have a handle on something and doing showing these or removing the pictures or whatever you're doing. We all need more hands, right? So that handle comes in handy. You just need Velcro and the picture symbols and $1 to get your dollar store cutting board.
And the Velcro sticks really well to those, and they're sturdy. They're a little sturdier than just a piece of laminated paper.
Yes. Okay, communication boards. What's nice that, it's nice if you can get a nice poster that you don't have to pay for, that's really great. But what if you have modified, a communication board and it's not just a core word board, but it actually has certain phrases that are particular to a person. You can create that. You can enlarge it at a photo center like Walgreens or CVS or wherever you enlarge your photos. It's going to be a fraction of the cost of what some of the other, companies are selling them for. And it's a quick DIY to get communication in the hands of someone who needs it right away. Because those photo centers can often have things ready when they're blowing them up. Sometimes in less than a week, they can be ready. You can use them with a laser pointer and just be creative with placement. They don't always have to go right in front of someone. Barb and I shared a client who spent the majority of his day in bed, and we put one on the ceiling and one on his door so that the few times that he is sitting up, he had something across the room and also on the ceiling. And that really worked well. So consider the placement of those.
Yep. So following up with the laser pointer, what we found, so here is our DIY laser pointer. So if you haven't used laser pointers, some people are wishy-washy about using these. This one says super bright LED. Yes, you don't want to shine a laser pointer into someone's eyes because they can be so bright. So what we did is popped out the lenses out of dollar store sunglasses, bought a dollar store laser pointer, and then did it just with hair bands. So go on to the next slide, Rachell. These are some other pictures. So the Goody hair bands there, that's really all we did to connect the laser pointer to the side of the eyeglasses. This picture here is a switch adapted laser pointer. This is the one by R.J. Cooper, I believe. And what we found is that the commercially available ones are not very strong. So the beam would only, like, you had to be within 2 feet of whatever you're looking at for the laser pointer to be able to be seen by the person who's helping with communication. So that's why we went with the dollar store one that said super bright, because for that example, we were having the client, shine it on the one that was on the ceiling or across the room. And that was our rationale for doing that. But a big cost alternative, some of these switch adapted laser pointers are over $100. R.J. Cooper's when the last time we had to purchase one of those was only about $30. So big difference there.
Okay, so literacy and written expression, lots of fun DIY things you can do with that.
Yes, so we use 3-ring binders a lot in our school district to make a modified slant board just to raise the viewing point, or maybe it's to help with the positioning of the hand. And so these are just a little fancier if you have the time, the ability. The bottom of the 3-ring binder there has like a little dowel glued on there, and then up at the top we have some magnetic strips that are glued on, so you can use the top part of the magnetic strip to hold the paper in place. And then the green one there, which is also a clickable link, talks about how to use paper clips. And now again, it is a little hard to slide the paper into the paper clips, but if it's something that you're working on with a student, then it might be a good challenge to have them try to get their paper into the paper clips there. Pool noodle pencil grips. I love, mostly anybody who knows me know I love my pool noodles. So I had started cutting the pool noodles, chopping them into rings, and then started making pencil grips out of them. You could put pencil grips into a pool noodle. You can, it's automatic for a lefty or a righty. You can put a crayon in it. If you cut it fatter, you can put a marker in it. If you have chalk, if you have a student who doesn't like textures of chalk, you can put a piece of chalk in there. So pool noodles are very great for doing a lot of different modifications for anything that you need for writing or eating utensils. They slip right in there as well. document camera. So this is something that one of our staff here in Mounds View came across, and it's called the IPEVO Mirror Cam. You get 6 of these little plastic foldable pieces. Okay, so it folds flat, and it just slides right over the webcam on your computer, and it comes with that. You see the picture of the cat there, it comes with that little whiteboard. So it's definitely not as easy as using a real document camera, or IPEVO also has a relatively low cost document camera. It's the software. You can just download their software if you have done any writing using a mirror or anything like that. Sometimes it reverses the image, and if you're asking somebody to write who can't, figure out right, left, it's very hard to give those instructions. So the software does allow you to be able to flip it around so that the person doing it sees it in the right direction. But 6 of these for $39.99, I mean, that's great. We did trial, Rachell and I did try to do some like makeup mirrors and flip it over the webcam to be able to project down, but it's really the software I find that does that reversed image that's the real key. So if you also just went on IPEVO and downloaded their software and then used your own little makeup mirror, you could do it for free if you wanted to.
So adaptive writing is something that we do a lot of, and right at the start of the pandemic, it was like, oh, we have to get lots of glue or Velcro or lots of things to make that happen. But how can you do that without those things? And so all you need are the picture symbols and a business card protector sheet.
Rachell knows this was my favorite thing that she shared, because it can be an OT and a speech activity. If you sent a sheet home, the student could work on cutting. It is a business card holder, so you do have to figure out where the opening is to be able to slip it in. But you can reuse it over and over again for literacy and putting words together to make a sentence.
Yep. So you can even snap them into a binder and create your own paragraphs or stories. And you can also have they're reusable. So you don't have to, you can just take the pictures out and start over again. So that's a pretty neat thing. And there are pocket holders or plastic pockets. I can't remember. There is a company that sells them, and they're quite expensive. But this is a quick and easy way to do it yourself and have something that's going to work right away. And you can buy those sheet protectors in a packet. You're not buying one at a time. So you can use this with multiple students at once.
Pool noodle letters, just another thing to use. You can have a tub, you can cut it up, you can put words on, have a student work on doing the ABCs or working on simple sight words. The pool noodles have a slit in the back, so you can see the picture on the left, and the picture on the right, that the student can just build it right on top of the bin. They just have to slide it right onto the edge and work on making their words. I'm trying to.
Okay, this is something that I can totally not take the credit for. I saw this and I have not been able to find who originally made it, and I couldn't find another picture of it online, but it stuck in my head. So a lot of us use a Bluetooth wireless switch with our students at school, and maybe they were interacting with the smart board or with the computer, and that's great. AbleNet has plenty of those for you to buy. Please do. But how do you get that same participation when the teacher is the one with the Bluetooth wireless switch, but I don't have an individual one for every single one of my students? So in an emergency, you can take a wireless mouse and use what you have, either the box it came in or a Ziploc container. And I bought these things from the dollar store. I bought a pack of sponges, cut them up use the Velcro that I already had, and it just closes over the mouse, and it's where they can kind of rest. A student can, you slide it under them, they rest their hand on the lid, and that action will activate the mouse, and it's fairly sensitive. Use it for cause and effect activities, for just participation in a lesson. We have given you the example of Tar Heel reader books that have the next page option, so the parent or caregiver or aide will navigate the mouse and move it to where it needs to be. And then when you have it hovering in place, you give them the opportunity. And same thing for partner assisted scanning at the end of the Tar Heel reader books. You can ask, what would you like to do next? Do you want to read another book? No response. Move the mouse up. Do you want to rate this book? No response. Do you want to read this book again? They click it. Oh, that's what they want to do. So, use it in combination with other things. Okay, other items for your toolbox. Oh, and I skipped one.
Okay, this is, we're getting short on time, so I'm gonna try to make it very quick for you. This is something that I really like is Floral foam. Again, I buy it at the dollar store. Pictures here, I did cover it with a press and seal, which is a food, kind of sticks to itself. But you can see I have it's a regular iPad with a magnetic cover on one picture. Then I have another tablet that's in a big OtterBox case, and the other one, you can cut those out to fit whatever you need. And they're generally pretty sturdy. You can toss those things, not with the device, but those holders themselves will last. They're pretty durable.
Okay, think outside the box. This was just a quick fix in emergency. We had so many iPads, but only so many of the right cases. So until we get more cases in that fit, I use paintbrushes inside that case to keep it from, moving around. Then I put the case back together, and you can't even, notice that there's anything in there. It doesn't rattle or anything. And now I have an iPad that fits in the right case, or in a case that wasn't what it was meant to fit in. And then we're just using the assist tool, the touch assist that is, I think it's called assistive touch, that's on the iPad, so that because cases that don't match up often have something blocking, like here, the volume up and down control. And so we just use that instead, and it's a quick fix. It's not a permanent fix. It's just while we're waiting on something else to arrive. Okay, so we're gonna skip over all of these digital resources, but Chrome Music Lab is a great free tool to use with your that mouse I showed you, the DIY wireless mouse. So please check these out. They all have links to them.
Yep.
And Barbara, say something.
Yep, the virtual calming rooms, if we have people from Minnesota, you may have seen some of these floating around. Osseo Area Learning Center, virtual calming room, the Rosemont Apple Valley, 196 virtual calming room. They're just these websites that are so loaded with just great links for just what it sounds like, a virtual calming room. And then the last link on that page is an app that we both like, and it's where the person has to scroll over the picture to calm this prickly little creature down and make them smooth. So Mind Powerful app for kids.
Some other great tools that you can use for resources are listed here, and the one that I'm just going to highlight is Story Jumper, because it is a cool tool to create stories, either to work with your one-on-one student or in a group or a class of students. But what people often forget is that there's an auditory component to it. So you can audio record the book that you make, and you can make it into a tool DIY thinking, you can make it in a tool that is useful for a student with a vision impairment or a student who has a reading disorder. So maybe they're low with their reading skills, and you need an auditory playback for that book. So it just really is a great tool, I think, and maybe underutilized or not thought of often in that way. Check out a video for wearing a voice amplifier with a mask and see how that sounds. That's what that slide is about.
We're both good proponents for, I try to encourage my speechies, voice amplifiers, whether it's for them or for their students. And this talks about, you can make one yourself. You can download an app. You can have a Bluetooth speaker. There's lots of ways to set it up so that you can save your voice as you're trying to project over those masks.
Yeah, so DIY, save your voice and your money. Okay, tactile cues, cabinet bumpers, or you can get raised stickers from the dollar store, anything to give a tactile cue that's going to help someone maybe become a better user of their keyboard and mouse. Even you can put these things on the mouse as well, or the trackpad. Speaking of trackpads,
not everybody knows that this thing exists. This is an external trackpad. If you have a student who maybe doesn't have access to their laptop or their school Chromebook and they need to get it a little closer, there is such a thing called an external trackpad that you can use that has a longer cord and help them with positioning.
Okay, so we're probably going to have to stop it here. But I didn't mean to to click on that. So the last two slides, please check those resources out. Suguru, and then the how to make your own switch was on there. But we wanted to share our Wakelet with you. Please click on the Wakelet. There are so many resources that we have that are DIY, or some quick and easy technology resource to share with you guys. And that's probably going to take a moment to pop up. But we try to include all the categories from today. Please stay tuned. Keep checking it back for all the resources, because we keep adding to it. I think we add something almost every week. And there will be a Jamboard category coming soon. So please check that out.
We are close to our hour, but certainly if anybody, Deb, if you want to open it up and we can maybe get
I think there's two questions. I can't tell if they're questions or comments. So someone's asking, will you share the video link?
So anything that we in that PDF handout is our whole slide presentation, and you'll be able to click on a lot of those links, which will take you to some videos or direct websites that will be able to I think link to the videos, unless you're talking about this video.
And this webinar is being recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel, hopefully by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Well, I think that might have covered everyone's question. Someone talked about giving control is great, but the problem is that some students' computers are not completely compatible, and we can't give them control, and so that's understandable. What I say, work with your IT department if your school has provided their computer. That might help access some of those things that we talked about earlier, for the opportunity for you to remote control their device. Sometimes it's a conversation with your IT department that needs to happen before you can implement that. So hopefully we provided you guys with some great ideas that you can be able to use right away. And please check out the Wakelet, because there's so much more that we included in the Wakelet, and we'll continue to add to it.
Yep. And if I see there's a question from Christina, I can't see her last name, but it was about the IPEVO software compatible with Chrome OS. Yes, we're a Chromebook district, and we have been able to use it with our computers and our Chromebooks. So hopefully that will work for you. We're so glad everyone joined us today, and send us an email if you have any questions. We'll be happy to chat with you and do some idea sharing.
Yes, yes. I'm sorry we could not get to everything we wanted to. This was a 2.5-hour presentation that we had to condense to an hour. So hopefully most of you were able to find something you could use.
Thanks so much, ladies. We appreciate all your work and hard effort here today. And that will conclude our webinar for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.